Face reality, people. Movies are dead. Games are dead. Narrative? Dead.
Media is nothing but neural trigger response and viral conditioning.
Wait, what are you two talking about?
If you don't know the truth, decide what the truth is. Then he testifies
Yeah.
that story about his dad on the way home from taking the dog to the vet, that he
Yeah.
was saying like one day he might not be there to protect you and all that, and it was just describing his dad. The kid said it was describing himself. That could have all been made up because the kid decided one way or the other in favor of his mom.
Yeah,
Or it
that's
could have
not
just been
possible.
the truth. Or it could have just been the truth.
But shouldn't they have hinted us after that it was, like
Yeah.
a fake out? Like he successfully pulled something off. Otherwise, like,
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to show like her.
I think
Like-
they used our imagination against us in many occasions
Yeah.
here in this movie.
She celebrated
Fucking
that
French.
she got off from murder. And she celebrated. Not like, oh, I'm glad I'm done. No, she went out to eat with friends.
No, it was with the lawyer team. Her team of lawyers.
Okay. She was smiling. She was having a good old time.
Yeah, but it was like, I think it was all perceived like it's most like everyone perceived it as it's most likely this woman fucking killed her husband, so thus her getting off would be like oh shit. And
yeah,
then,
that was
it set in when everyone left, and it's like, okay, now that we're over we quote unquote won, I didn't really win anything. I feel
Right.
I feel like shit. Right.
But
right.
she's
Oh.
still smiling and have a good old time right after that, too. So it's like, did she
You still suck at shooting, dude. And you
did she get off?
Okay, guys, we're
Or-
recording. Just so you know. Go ahead, guys.
Did she get off like because she was not guilty, or did she get off because she lucked out?
I'm not sure.
And I'm saying, like, we don't definitively know.
Well, we don't know what happened in the actual
Right.
thing. Right? Oh,
Right.
shit, bro.
I think I do.
Do you have grades for this? Hello? Anyone? Hello? Did I get disconnected?
No. Yeah, I think it's. I think it kept me going the whole time. I'd recommend it.
I think it's interesting, for sure. I thought there'd be more of, based on the synopsis, where there'd a lot more talk about the moral dilemma of the kid. I think that was only like in the last portion of the movie, really. That wasn't really like
You hear me?
emphasized till then.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, DQ'd.
Got it. It's called DC'd, by the way. Disconnected, get it?
No, I meant disqualified.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I was looking for more. Me personally, right? As a film, I think it's pretty well made. Like as for what it was, for what they gave us, right? But I was looking for something more to call it into the excellent realm, to where like, okay, this is excellent, which I think would be
No.
more of the focus on the moral dilemma of the kid, because that's a weird situation, right? He's blind, and he's torn between two parents, right? So it's like, and it's his own like life dynamic at risk too, because if he let's say he thinks his mom did it, and he gives his mom up, like, well, his life is definitely turned upside down even more than it already is. So it's like there's a whole bunch of dilemmas and scenarios that the kid is going through that I think is like I would have liked to see that more looked
Yeah.
into than the whole trial shit we went through. Right? It was more like that was more of the main focus was did she do it? Didn't she do it? And they went through evidence. We saw court hearings and testimony and
What evidence? There was no fucking
know what I
evidence in
mean.
that court case.
you know
That's
what
a
I
big
mean.
problem with this for me. That's a big problem. This was, it had nothing to do with facts. It was all about, like, well, were they pissed off at each other?
Yeah.
Like, that's emotions. That was not actual evidence. It's
Yeah.
I guess you would call it what's the fucking word for it? It's a type of evidence.
Circumstantial.
Circumstantial evidence, yeah. So they didn't have anything. So the
Anecdotal.
entire
Probably a
case,
better way to say it.
the entire case was based on circumstantial evidence, and half that shit would have been thrown out of at least an American court case. I don't know how the French do it, but if the French are doing it like this, fuck them. They don't have fucking law.
I love how you were gonna call it a real court, but then you change it to at least in America, meaning
Yeah. Our standard,
Well, for
which
me-
we don't follow our standard either. But
Fair enough, but for me, well, I'm not even going to go into the law shit because I would welcome this. I'd welcome all perspectives, not just physical, tangible evidence, but also people's ideas of things, hoping that they're telling the truth, which is a little bit tricky. Good night, guys. Right, that'd be tricky. But I'm not even going to go into the court part. I'm going to the way the movie presented it, which was
well, it's hard to make a court thing look good and be true to how law works.
Yeah.
Because those things they left out, or those things they entered into the case, would have been left out in court if it was following true to law. Because it'd be like, that's hearsay, that's circumstantial, you can't read a dead man's mind.
true, but for a movie, it works perfectly. And in fact,
Right.
me personally, I would bring that if I was into courtrooms, I would want that to be presented, the thoughts and ideas of,
Yeah.
of the people involved in the thing. But that's once again, I'm not trying to go there. The film, like I said, I'd rather have. Well, okay, you can have like the same amount of courtroom focus, like they were, like trying to get you to guess who did what and is this woman guilty, or did the husband just commit suicide or whatever, right? Sure, give that time, but give, I think, the kid's perspective a lot more time. We didn't even get to see like exactly what he experienced that day, right? Not really, right? Like a super zoomed in view of his perspective on that day, to where it doesn't just add to the crime part, but there the thriller crime investigation thing of the movie. It can also add to
I'm stumped though too.
what he's doing. Good.
When they showed him like doubting himself and he was back inside, and he was like, maybe I heard them upstairs, but they showed us at the beginning he was clearly outside and discovered the body.
Yes.
It's like, so you're double faking me too. And it's just like, you're throwing me off from the way, like, it really, well,
Shit.
according to the movie, really happened.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the zoomed in view of the death. I know part of it was because it's somewhat mysterious and that they don't want to give us too much, but I think because he's blind, that somewhat is his view of the world. Like he didn't see it from a distance until or at least you would imagine like maybe he did see it, but like you would imagine his blindness, he only knows when he is like right up close to it. Um, and and for me, a lot of the things that were brought up maybe aren't hard evidence, like a literal gun or something or murder weapon, but the bruises, the fight, like right before, all of these things to me were pieces of evidence that were. I would have liked to see some types of things that were, or they could have been more suspects, but like everything in my mind when I'm watching it pointed to her. So it was almost like an open and shut case, like and it was just so like there was no other, like it was also occurring inside the house, so it's not like somebody else could have been involved. There
The
could have been
lawyer.
well, it was
Dude, you're
inside.
still leaping on this lawyer theory, bro. Stop it.
It was inside the house. He got knocked out third floor, so it all kind of pointed to like, well, it couldn't have been anybody else. Maybe possibly the son,
Yeah.
right? But
It was
there
either the
wasn't.
mom or he
Yeah.
committed suicide or somebody snuck in the house and pushed him out the window.
Yeah, and then snuck back. Yeah, so
Or the dog. The dog could have done it, and that dog had reasons.
all of these things made it where it did seem like it wasn't no evidence. There was a lot that constrained it to be a very small number of people. So, and I guess in the end it was himself. So, I I, I don't know. I think I would have liked maybe other options. It was very limited there, but yeah. I mean, I followed it the way it went.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's well put together to keep you interested in the movie and interested in the results and what happened and what happens to the characters. Right? We were sitting there guessing, like it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever. She runs away with the lawyer dude. She confesses to the lawyer dude. The kid confesses. The kid. The kid.
Yeah.
You said the kid was in like a dominant position or something in that hug or something. So we're like, maybe
Oh, yeah.
maybe that means something. I think that's. I
Think
think
so.
that means it's well made to me. I
Like,
think it keeps you
right.
in it.
And it could have meant many different things too.
Yeah,
Even that hug.
I am a little disappointed of not getting the truth of the scenario because we don't know. We're walking away with
But
not knowing.
it leaves you it's rewatchable because of that.
Well,
No,
you said,
because you don't get a conclusion. So you can't be like, oh, here's all the things all the clues I missed that led to the conclusion that we figured out later. Like we're just gonna end up just being guessing forever and ever and ever. But I get what you're saying.
No. I think what you said during the movie was that it leaves it makes your imagination go, like it leaves things to that. So I do
Yeah,
agree
they fill in blanks.
that it did that effectively, but when it ended that way, to me, it wasn't like the end of The Sopranos where you just go to black and then you're like, okay, a lot of different things could have happened.
Yeah.
To me, the way it ended, without really strong hints after the court case, means that it just happened the way they said it was.
Yeah.
And they just kind of played us. But
I don't think it was a play. I think it's on man, I don't.
I mean,
think
played
it
us from
our guessing perspective.
yeah, the guessing stuff.
Okay. Fair
But
enough.
but that it was just what they said. Like it wasn't. I don't feel like it was open-ended ending.
I'm pretty sure I know what happened.
Well, I think you're gonna have 10 million different people coming away with 10 million different perspectives. That's which I think was actually the point. It wasn't some empty version of that where it's like, oh, they left it with nothing, so you're just, oh, they did it on purpose because it makes me feel like I'm guessing and stuff. Like, no, I think this is actually like that, as opposed to some bullshit and like poor written plot type thing. But whatever. Still, like to me, quality wise, a solid movie. The acting, I think, was alright, except for that lead prosecutor dude who's like a little cringy. He's like a little over the top to me. He was like the only one I think that was just over the top. The prosecutor did, like the lead one.
No, and the child.
Not the child. The kid was like
You don't
whatever.
think the pill scene wasn't over the top?
No, that's a character written. I'm talking about the acting.
Oh,
The acting.
okay.
That one dude, the prosecutor dude, was over the top.
Okay.
The dog with the aspirin or pills or whatever the fuck to do some sort of experiment thing was definitely a hard, like, hey, look over here, like, look what my left hand's doing while my right hand's behind my back doing something else. Like they're trying to like move you and trick you a little bit. I think with that.
Doug was the best actor.
That dog's a superstar, bro. He's a super duper star. All right. All right, let's grade this. It's late. I'm personally gonna give this grade. I'm gonna give this movie like a 7.6. Held my attention. I think it's well made. It's above average, but it's not that far above average. I don't think there's anything special about this movie. I think even as much as you say like, oh, it'd make you rewatch it. For me, it doesn't make me want to rewatch it. It's just all right. It's a if you focus so hard on a whodunit situation, once you get the results, or maybe something where there's a lack of results. I mean, the lack of result is a result, right? As soon as you get that result, it's like, well, what am I watching it for? Why would I rewatch this? Maybe to show someone else or something like that, or techniques in filmmaking that seem to be present here. Not that I'm some expert. I'm just saying, like, it looks like it's, from my perspective of what I see, like, oh, this seems well made. It doesn't seem like, Expendables fucking 4, which I watched earlier, So I think it seemed pretty well made, and it's above average as far as holding my attention, but it's not excellence to me, in my opinion. It's just an interesting movie. All right. Anyone else want to go?
I'll give it a 7.5.
Wow, you are 0.1 within next to my grade. That's crazy because that never happens.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was thinking about the IMDb score 7.8, and just like it's good. It's not the best, but it's complete story, which we barely get anymore. Like a full beginning, middle, end, conclusion, plot. All of that's there.
It wasn't though. No, it wasn't. That's the thing. It wasn't. You don't
Yes,
know
it was.
who fucking. How's the dad dead? How do you like? They didn't give you that. They're leaving it up to your own fucking devices. Or
No,
whatever.
we do have a conclusion. We absolutely have a conclusion. The
Jeez,
conclusion
not good.
the conclusion is that we got a story from beginning, middle, end of a murder or a suicide.
Exactly. Good.
Going from
A murder or what?
the beginning, a murder or a suicide.
Oh, so there's like
going
multiple
from-
options that are like on the table. It isn't
Going
conclu-
from
isn't
the
concluded there?
beginning,
Okay, good.
going from the beginning of it to a trial, to the conclusion, to an actual outcome of a trial, it being acquitted. Whether that's true or not is not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, an actual plot was demonstrated in this.
I agree.
And that's kind of a bare minimum for a story, but we don't get that in a lot of fucking things today.
True.
So that's why I'm putting it 7.5. It's at least got that going for it. And it is interesting. And when I say rewatchable, I'm not like I'll watch it 100 times. No. Like I'll watch it again or two, see what I missed, and reevaluate and see if I come to the same conclusion as I did the first time. Or maybe I'll come to a different conclusion.
Of that open-endedness.
Right.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna be like I'm gonna have a solid answer the next time I watch it. I
Nope.
know that.
Yeah.
I already understand that.
Yeah, no one is.
But it'd be rewatchable, not like 100 times, but like another time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I understand that. Jesse, you want to?
Yeah. So for me, I do recommend it. I don't feel it was ambiguous. To me, I watched a murder trial that turned out with the plot twist to be a suicide, and then I I also, even though I think technically it could be a whodunit, I wouldn't categorize it that way for myself because there's the typical like whodunit kind of format, which purposely like leads you and weaves you through every character
Sure.
in and there's a kind of a template to those things,
And
which
solid
I find
defining, yeah.
and I find those like very cheesy because they're very cookie cutter where they intentionally just drag you through all of this misdirection like excessively, and I didn't feel like I was yanked around that much. I just other
That
than
doesn't have
that they
the
pushed it
case.
to her too
Go
much.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they did it all on one character, so it felt a little different from the usual template.
But it's
So
still technically.
And she did have reasonable doubt, and that's an American part of law. Like, if
But
there's a jury,
you don't get the results of what happened. That's why I'm saying it's
right?
like an ongoing whodunit. Even though we typically see whodunit is some guy with a curly mustache saying, "Oh, so John, where were you at 5 a.m. at this place? You know, when
Yeah.
when Mrs. Murdoch got murdered that night." Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's the typical,
Yeah.
old-fashioned whodunit thing. But
I thought it was old fashioned, but we
It's
watched a few
kind of-
movies recently that were like that, right? And I was like, oh, they're still alive and cringy.
yeah, what was
And
it? A murder.
I'm glad it wasn't that.
A murder or a haunting in Venice or something like that. It's straight up whodunit. Straight up. Even the stereotypical characters of that. But just because this is done differently and a little bit more grounded and a little less subversive does not take it out of the whodunit category for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
I still think it's there.
Speaking of, do you remember that documentary you watched about the guy that pushed his wife down the stairs?
The staircase. Yeah, I brought it up.
They recently charged him and convicted him of murder of his wife.
Recently? How recent? What do you mean? Like this year? Or last year?
Like, after I saw that, I remember seeing on the news that guy was convicted of the murder. What we see it 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
Well, okay, yeah. I
So
saw
somewhere
clips of it.
since then, I saw it on the actual news that dude was convicted for murder of his wife.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped up in my head when we first started watching this. I was like, this reminds me of like the synopsis I read, and also the bill like was it accident? Was it criminal? I guess just added in suicide to it, right?
Mm.
And that reminded me of the staircase so much, like the documentary staircase. There's also a TV show. I think they made for HBO. I watched like a couple episodes of it. But yeah, it like reminded me of that, to where it's like that's a real life. Like, what the fuck happened here?
Right. So I guess they changed it a little bit so it wouldn't be double jeopardy and tried him on basically the same thing and convicted him.
Yeah, that's crazy. They had all these kids too from like both sides of the family. I think they both had a relationship before they met each other. They
Yeah.
both had kids before they met each other, and maybe they had kids together too. And they're like a well-off family, and it's like this weird fucking.
They showed
It's a real life whodunit, man. It's like who did what.
they interviewed the kids. The kids all turned on him after he was found guilty.
Really?
Yep.
I remember in a documentary, they were all like in favor. They're all supporting him. in
But
the original shit.
I guess they said there was like one new piece of evidence that made them all like,
Damning.
oh, he did it.
Okay. Oh, it's fucking terrible, man. That documentary is like, in the beginning, it's definitely very dark when you see the blood.
Didn't it
splatter and
happen
shit
like
that.
a long time ago?
Yeah, it's fucking what, the 90s or early 2000s or something, where this woman
Yeah.
like supposedly either I don't know, was hit with something and left at the bottom of the stairs, or she fell down the fucking stairs, or she was hit at the top of the stairs and rolled down the fucking stairs. And it's like, oh my god, the way the HBO show showed it is so fucking brutal. It was just like, oh no. Like, I'm like, oh, let me save you. But yeah, crazy fucking story there. All right, so you got what, 7.6 from me, 7.5 from Dubster, a recommended from Jesse. What more could you ask for? Right? Of course.
IMDb put 7.8. Rotten Tomatoes put it higher than that, right?
Their scales are way different. IMDb 7.8
A,
is like,
a lot of people love this.
yeah, I'm sure
what we
they
heard.
had. I'm sure the murder mystery part. I'm expecting better. I don't know why I keep looking at these Rotten Tomato scores and just like, oh, it got a 91, and for some reason, something in the back of my head is like, all right, maybe it's actually good. This was actually good, but I'm saying like, it wasn't. It isn't excellent. It doesn't deserve in the 90 percentile. Like, how do you? I'm sorry, you're not an A plus. You're not
What
an A student.
91%? What 91% means on Rotten Tomatoes is, do you give this an A? Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, there is no real critiquing happening over there. I don't even know if it's fan score or critic.
Right.
I don't think it matters. I think they're both kind of idiots. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the average fan base, but fuck Rotten Tomatoes. Don't use that shit. If my advice to you, use your own fucking eyes and ears and mind.
I mean, who bothers to even do that, right? Like,
what, put a score down? I don't know. Like, most of it's probably
Well,
film studios.
how is
bot
how
accounts.
is it asked? How is it asked? Is it a survey? Is it 10 questions? Is it one question?
I think you sign up
Rank
for an
it?
account and then you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down type of shit. And thumbs
Is
like
it
that's
simply
such a
yes or
stupid
no?
scale. I think it's that stupid of a scale. If I had to guess,
Is it simply a positive or a negative? If so, they're just averaging
that's what I'm
out
saying.
to how many positives.
Yes, that's why it's like.
Well, then
It's,
I would give, let's see, think about a movie. I like Transformers. I would give
Oh
it
my
a
God.
thumbs up, but I don't think it's deep. I
It's-
wouldn't get in.
2 snaps up.
if we used our scale, Dubster, right?
Well, I'd
And
put
90% is
Transformers in the 7.8 range.
exactly. That's
No,
what I'm saying.
lower. I'd put it lower than that.
I hope you
I'd
would.
probably put
but-
it around 7.
But it's like, say like 90% means 9 out of 10. It's like, no, of course not. I don't think any of us would give that shit. 9
No,
out,
they're
9 out of
literally-
fucking 10.
What you're saying, Rotten Tomatoes is saying, is 9 out of 10 people gave it a thumbs up.
You're like, yeah, all right, I liked it. It was all right.
Yeah,
as,
it's
as
okay.
opposed to, this
I
is the
don't like
best
it
movie
at
ever.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or this is a great movie. Like, there's a different scale there to say it's a
All
great
right.
movie. It's as opposed
Do
to
you-
saying like, oh, I don't mind you watching it. Yeah, go ahead, go
Hey,
watch it.
Would you recommend this to anyone? Yes. Would you recommend this to anyone? No. That's their question.
Kinda. If I'm getting that correct, I think it's on that level. It's just straight up like YouTube thumbs up and thumbs down type shit. There is no like in between of like, it was all right. It's above average, but I'm not saying it's an A+ movie. I'm just saying, yeah, go ahead, go watch it. And it's like, that's not a worthy scale for the at least a movie review site where they're trying to go into that type of detail. Like, it's not worthy. And I think the critics go by the same thing too.
Have you made a Rotten Tomatoes account to see for sure?
I have not. I doubt I
Okay.
ever will, but maybe I'll look it up one day.
Okay.
Because I don't
Yeah.
know personally. I'm kind of just guessing, but because it makes sense, doesn't it? Why did the certain
Right.
movies get 91 fucking percent or 94 fucking percent? And like,
And then some get 23%.
and then you have a movie like we were talking about Lord of the Rings. Okay, how did fuckface movie over here made in 2023 be equally graded with Lord of the Rings, Return of the King or something? Like, how'd they match up equally? They wouldn't, right? One's like an epic, the other one's just like a movie I liked. I kind of like this. So,
Yeah.
but they end up with the same Rotten Tomato score, which means it's a non-score at that point. But all right, let me end this recording. There's our review of Anatomy of a Fall. Go check it out. I definitely recommend. Go check it out.